Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Trading Triangle. Once again, it's me and Kay on this fine Sunday just before the election. How are you doing, Kay?
I'm doing great. Happy Sunday to everybody who's watching.
Absolutely. The election day is what, Tuesday, is it? Thursday, Wednesday?
It is Tuesday. It's a big one, and I know we're going to talk a little bit more on that today. I don't mind having a little because I have a couple thoughts about Tesla and how is we can play that and the wicks. So we can take that a little bit later in the show. But I'm very excited to talk about today.
Awesome. Look forward to that. Obviously, we're just a couple of guys on the internet looking at charts, breaking down technical analysis, etc., and giving our thoughts and opinions on each stock. So none of this is obviously financial advice. So do take it from entertainment purposes only. Once again, thank you very much for letting us use the platform. We really do appreciate it. We love to do it, and as long as we can keep that connection, we're happy to do it. Awesome. Let's just put in your ticket requests. Obviously, put them in the comments as we roll through. Happy to look through as many as possible. We've got 7 already, so we've got plenty to look forward to. In about 20 minutes-ish, we normally get through our section, and then we get through to audience requests there.
Perfect. Yeah. We actually got 2 more requests from Justin, AMD, and Tesla. And the funny part about Tesla is that we'll pay a little bit more special attention on Tesla this week. It's a big week for Tesla.
I look forward to it. I certainly look forward to it. All right, let's jump into the slideshow, shall we? Whoops, that's me. There we go. Right. Last week, wow. I don't know if you can notice the dominant color there, but I think you can see it's red. We had obviously lots and lots of big earnings last week. Obviously, highlights being basically most of the Mag 7. So we've got obviously Google doing pretty well, Amazon doing pretty well. They jump off the page, as you can see. And obviously, we had Apple, Microsoft, Meta, and I think that was it. No, Amazon is, no, yeah, I've covered that one already. So Apple, Microsoft, and Meta all posting pretty good results actually, but kind of taking a dive in terms of stock price, and obviously Nvidia up top here as well. They didn't report, but obviously with the Mag 7 kind of dropping, they do kind of follow in that direction. And we'll jump into the SPY and QQQ in a minute. But anything that you notice here, Kay, if you want to point out?
No, I think it was a pretty big week for the earnings, and pretty much all, I think 6 out of the 7 Mag 7 have reported earnings. You only have Nvidia left, which is coming up on 11/22. I think the drop in Nvidia in the last 2 days, and at the end of the close of Friday, when the news was announced that Nvidia is replacing Intel in the Dow Jones, we did see some rally in the stock price. Mm-hmm. I had posted a video like maybe 2 weeks ago for Nvidia on about 3 different trades. The third trade idea that was mostly for the upside potential that got invalidated this week, unfortunately. But again, we might get back into that trade once we meet certain conditions, which make sure you follow us on X, and we'll be posting those updates there.
Absolutely. We always love your posts on X. They're very informative and kind of break it down nice and easy for people to read. So go ahead and follow Kay on X. It's Invest Kay, I think it is. It comes up later on the link. So we'll jump through that a bit later on. Anyway, fear and greed index, we're sitting right in the middle. I think we actually dropped into fear during the week. I think it was kind of, well, basically, where's my mouse? There we are. I think it was about here-ish, dropped into the red. We just kind of pulled it back on Friday. So interesting, very volatile week, wasn't it?
It is a very volatile week. The VIX was when we were, I think last week we were off, but the week before, the VIX was around the 17, 18 mark. Now VIX is almost touching 22. And with the 2 big events lining up for this week, one, of course, everybody knows is the US election. And the second one, we got an update on the Iran and Israel issue, is that they have closed their airspace from 4th to 6th. So starting Monday until Wednesday, they'll be closing their airspace. So they might be preparing for some kind of retaliation. And which was kind of expected. There were some, talks in the community. If you follow that geopolitical community, there was like, we might see more action closer to the election, or right even before or right after the election. So we'll see how that plays out. But I think the VIX play, VIX could be interesting this week. We might see some big volatility in the VIX.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got here and key events, election day and jobless claims, but there's also FOMC meeting on Wednesday, which we forgot to stick in there. But obviously that'll be a big part of the volatility in this week as well, along with the other 2 catalysts, of course. So it'll be a very volatile week. Obviously, we have seen Bitcoin go up to about 73, I think it was.
Wow, okay.
73K, and it's dropped down below Obviously 70k now, as you can see on the screen. I think it actually dropped below 68 in the last couple of days. I think that might be related to the election kind of anticipation. So
It's
I won't be touching
45. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
So I won't be trading anything around Bitcoin, any miners or anything like that until the election is done. Just a kind of word of warning for everyone out there as well. At least that's my thoughts on Bitcoin and the trades around it. So yeah, with that, we'll move on, shall we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Earnings, another big week of earnings. I'm very excited for this week because we've got obviously the likes of Palantir, HIMS, we've got ARM, Celsius. I think that's one of our picks, so we'll be looking through Celsius later on. Excuse me. And obviously the big one, Rivian here as well. Last couple of quarters not been so wonderful. You know, that makes sense. Obviously they've got the cars coming out in 2026 and they're burning through cash like no tomorrow. So looking forward to getting an update on there. Of course, you can get those three. I'm going to be streaming HIMS, ARM, and Rivian on my channel. So go ahead and jump to my YouTube channel. Look forward to streaming that. And obviously DraftKings as well. Are you looking at DraftKings this week at all?
No, I'm not. I'm looking at others. So
yeah.
So I'm looking at SMCI, which is actually going to be a very interesting see, and we can see if we see a big downgrade on SMCI after what has recently happened after Evi resigned. Then of course you said ARM. There's Qualcomm also reporting earnings on Wednesday after close, and you have Microchip. I'm not that big of a fan, but on Thursday we have Datadog, which is in the SaaS space. I definitely follow very closely. We have Arista, Block, and AFRM. So either AFRM or Block, I'm going to live stream one of these. I'll live stream the earnings depending upon the interest level. And Tuesday we have elections. So I'm not going to do anything. I'll just wait and watch. That's pretty much it from my side. That's what I'm watching.
No, so just on top of that, we've got Pinterest and Airbnb, which we were just covering a second ago. So I thought I'd just make that visible for people. Plenty to look out for. I'm sure there's something for everyone in the markets this week. But just be careful when you're trading earnings. If you're trading earnings, I personally don't trade them at all now. Before, obviously, but post earnings is where I like to dive into the reports, see what's happened with the company, and obviously kind of base my trading, thoughts around that. Really, to be honest, I think you do the same, Kay, don't you? Yeah, every now and then I have a bit of a gamble, I must admit, but very rarely. Anyway, I'm on screen. Here we go. First chart of the day is SPI. We've had a bit of a rough week, and obviously that's down to the earnings, essentially, isn't it, Kay?
I think so, and I also feel like there was a pullback considering we also have the election. Like, I mean, based on election years, October generally is a poor month compared to other months in the year. So it kind of aligns, and the history basically repeats itself. It was a poor month ended. And now once whoever wins, doesn't matter whether it's Trump, whether it's Harris, doesn't matter who wins, the market will have a direction. So if Trump wins, companies that are industries and companies that are, in his policy favorable, they will rally, and vice versa.
Exactly. So companies like Bitcoin, not companies, industries like crypto will probably run more towards Trump.
I'm telling you, Tesla is going to have a very volatile week. If Trump loses, Elon Musk is going to have a tough time.
That's very, very true. Just bear that in mind for all the viewers watching.
But that's going to be, listen, if that were to happen, that doesn't mean that Tesla is a bad company, right?
No.
If you get a drop in Tesla, that you can build into your long-term position. That's like, I honestly, if that happens, I'm adding to Tesla, because it's not going to fall because of fundamental issues. It's because of certain catalysts that happen unrelated to the company. So yeah, take advantage of it if that happens.
Awesome. We're at risk of turning this into a political session. We're actually not going to do that. We're going to look at the chart. I'm going to break it down in technical fashion. We can see here, obviously, it has dropped down the last week or so. Big gap down on Wednesday. Wednesday to Thursday, should I say. And obviously Thursday was a continuously selling day. Everyone was looking at their portfolios. It was a miserable day. But these days happen. It's not going to go up forever, of course. And on Friday, we actually saw this zone that I had drawn basically for the last couple of months. Just over a month. We can see it rejected that really, really hard. And obviously we might be losing this volume profile as well. So subsequently, I've drawn this level of 562. in case, and we do have the 50 moving average coming in below it. But given everything that's going to be happening this week, we could easily see that break. Just really, really easily, of course, and then going down to 562. That's it's not a big move. Not too sure.
I'm not that bearish actually. I'm looking at the
really?
gap. I'm actually looking at the gap fill, and I'll tell you why. Because on the options chain, on 5th, the put to call ratio is 0.96, which is bullish, and then on 6th, it is 0.68, which is extremely bullish. So I wouldn't be surprised that once the results are announced, and hopefully we get a winner, the market is probably going to bounce back and fill that gap. Now, what will happen in the coming days and maybe the week ends, that's a different thing. But from SPY and QQQ standpoint, their options chain is on a daily basis. So I'm just showing, this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing 0.96, 0.68 options. There are a lot more calls open on those days.
So you're saying don't panic?
I would say so. Also, we are at we are making all-time highs, and honestly, at this point in time, some little bit of a pullback here and there, it's important, but I don't see this pullback, something to be extremely worried, considering most of the narrative is that we will have a good November, December month in the market.
So I'm not opposed to having a pullback. I'm just saying if we do have a pullback, the 562 level will be something I'd be looking at, just because of the confluence of the volume profile and obviously these previous highs over here. I don't know why I didn't draw that line in there, but you can kind of see it throughout the chart anyway. But yeah, I mean, I'm all for it going back up. No problem with that. My portfolio look a lot better. Should we move on to the QQQ?
Yes.
Awesome. QQQ looking a little bit more positive. We've got, despite obviously the last couple of days trading, but we're just kind of sitting on this trend line / volume profile / 50 moving average. I know it's a little bit above the 50 moving average. And you've also got this support resistance line of 486 as well. So it's kind of at a crucial point. We did bounce off of it-ish kind of throughout the night of Thursday through to Friday. So there's a little bit of support there, as you can probably see, probably dive down to smaller time frames for that. But it's there, you can see it's there. So what we're looking for basically in the next few days is to kind of push up, but it's a sit on your hands type of week because of all the news, etc. I mean, Kay pointed out a few minutes ago, maybe best to sit out this week or sit out most of this week, just kind of let the news roll through, see what happens, enjoy it. But likewise, you could also, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. I was going to say you could probably play a little bit of fun on it, but no. We're not here for that. QQQ?
I think on QQQ we have a little bit more bearish, considering compared to S&P 500. It's more 1.38 and 1.05. So not that bearish, but relatively it's a little bearish. But I also think that this downtrend line is the key here, right? We shouldn't see a breakdown. Now, assuming that most of the companies, which were the big 7, right? 6 of them have reported earnings. Pretty much everybody had a beat. Most of it, I think, except Tesla, everybody had a beat on both, top line and bottom line. We saw how things played out in the last 2 days. I don't see this breaking down, but if it breaks down, then we have a different discussion.
Yeah, one thing to add to that is it is on the verge of breaking down, of course. We are sitting right there.
Yeah.
But we could also, like you said, we could get a bit of a flash down and then quickly panic buys and buy the dippers and that kind of stuff. Institutions, for example, might just buy it straight back up again, the volume really come in. So watch those volume bars at the bottom this week for not only individual stocks, but for the indices as well. There's definitely going to be a lot of volume out there. Awesome. Is that everything we want to cover on the QQQ?
No, I think we're good.
Cool. We've got loads of tickers coming in, of course, so keep adding them in. Just stick them in the comment section. We really do appreciate it, of course. It gives us a few ideas as well. I'm always looking out for different trade ideas. I don't know about you, UK.
Yeah. I think the audience itself, I think we learn a lot from the audience, right? They are watching, everybody was watching their own interest, and then we just get to know, this ticker, I never knew about this company even existed, right? So it's a learning experience for all of us.
Yeah, and I can see one straight there as well from Robert, ASPI. Never even heard of it, but we'll get onto that one later on.
Exactly.
Awesome. So first up from me, we've got Robinhood. This one is pretty much a swing trade play for me. They posted earnings on Wednesday after close, and they were pretty good. There's a few things to not look great about, which is kind of revenue etc. But that could also just be the time of the year. Obviously, summer is not the most fruitful year for trading, of course. People are off, out, holidays, enjoying life, which is fair enough. But what I would be looking at is next quarter looking very, very good indeed, beating on everything, and obviously getting those graphs back up. I really wish I added them in here, but I'll post that on my X a bit later on so you can see that. So go ahead and follow me there. But obviously, what I want to get to is the confluence. We can see got this support resistance zone, more or less, this kind of obviously rectangle going through the screen, where the buyers have already come in. We can see it a little bit on Thursday, and obviously a big buyer bounce on Friday. That bottom wick candle looks really, really nice for further upside, of course. Got the volume profile here, we've got the 50 moving average, so everything's kind of playing in nicely so far. Target for this one is 27.50, just basically to fill the gap. I'll probably take maybe a third, maybe half at that point, and just let the rest run, because I like the company of Robinhood, and obviously, in future years I expect it to do very, very well. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on Robinhood. Very short, very simple, kind of confluential stock, confluential trade, should we say. Any thoughts on this one, Kay?
Well, on the options chain, if you're trading options on HOD, I think you definitely will get a lot of IV. So if you're selling options, you probably will have very good premium. The 2320 is a critical level, I would say, on the Fibonacci. But I think if I actually move down to a little bit 2235, I think that's where I will focus on, considering we had a lot of touches. A lot of support over there, and the volume shelf is also much stronger at those levels. So if there is a breakdown to those levels, I would definitely want to see if we get a bounce off, and then that should be a good support for Robinhood. And then, of course, we always love to talk about the gaps, so we would look to see that gap fill.
100%, yeah. Gap fill is the ultimate target there for me.
Exactly.
We have Tony Fantetti saying, by sit out, are you not taking any new positions, or are you have exited all your positions? I basically haven't exited in my positions. Of letting them run, of course, from a personal point of view, but I'm not taking any new positions as basically as it stands. I don't know what you're doing there, Kay.
So that's a very good question, and the answer is it depends. In this situation, so let's take an example. Let's say in this situation, if I own HOD, like I do own HOD, but I run a covered call. So my covered calls are already in negative, because I had already sold the covered call at like maybe 23 or 24. So when it ran up all the way to 28, it was already negative. I haven't checked how much it's there, but anyways, in this situation, if there's a big gap down or a big gap up, generally you want the stock to at least stabilize before you see a trend. And 1 or 2 days is not good enough to give us a trend where the stock is going, because what could happen, and if you go and watch our video back, or you can go watch my video on Nvidia, or you can check out the X, you can see a trend playing out in next 2-3 days, and then the 4th day the trend will reverse. So you have to make sure that you kind of watching it if you're doing day trading or even swing trading. So in this situation, I would sit out, wait for the trend to establish, and then take a position if you're doing swing trading. Maybe that's a long rant. But yeah, that's what I meant.
I'm sure he got a lot of value from it. I was just writing down Unity software. Nice, awesome. So that was obviously Robinhood, looking good, looking ready. Next up is Palantir. Earnings tomorrow after the bell, and it's been an absolute ripper recently, as you can see on the screen here. Basically, from the beginning of August, it's gone from $22-ish all the way up to 44. That's 100% essentially in what's that? 3 months? Yeah, 3 months. So basically, from quarter to quarter, it's been 100%. I expect this one to cool down. Now, we had a comment just before the live stream from David. He said, let's take a lotto on where Palantir drops to. So obviously stick it in the comments, where do you think Palantir is going to drop to? Or perhaps you think Palantir might go the other way and go above 50. I'm personally in the camp of it going down. You can see that on the chart already. Had it already loaded up a couple of days ago. Just because I like this volume profile down here at 37 there. So drop of 11%, which is, it's no stranger to Palantir earnings. It could go either way. But I just think maybe perhaps the market is overpriced it slightly. It's just kind of a bit more of a realization thing. Obviously, the company's still going to be growing. It's still going to be fantastic for years ahead. But maybe it's just getting a little bit too ahead of itself. So we'll see obviously tomorrow night after earnings, but personally I'm looking for a drop down to that kind of 37 mark. Well, yeah, 36, 37 mark. That's just about where that gap is, you can see on the screen, and obviously that 50 moving average as well. And I expect the buyers to kind of come in there just for a short-term bounce back up to kind of 40, 41, just basically a kind of a small swing trade, shall we say. Yes, I know there's lots of events kind of going around it, of course, but that's the risk you take with these kind of trades, and it would be a very small portion of my portfolio, of course. Any thoughts on Palantir? Okay.
So I think you have been covering Palantir for a really long time. I personally have not covered Palantir, but most recently, since this big run up happened, I've been tracking Palantir. So since this big run up, we have created 3 gap ups. Again, as we say, not all gaps are filled, granted, but 3 gaps are, considerably a lot of gaps. Actually, if you look at beyond, we had the first gap up created back in 2000 in February of 2024. That was the first gap, and then you had the second gap in
This one, yeah.
August.
August.
Yes, and then the most recent one was September. So you have had 3 gaps. That's one. So in this situation, if you already have Palantir, then you are just sitting on your you're probably not adding, right? You probably want to wait for a pullback to add. And if you want to start a position, I would aim for that 36 where the big volume shelf is, right? The 36, 37, that level. But honestly, I would aim for a 32, that where the first breakdown is. Now, you can sell options because you have very good IV here. So you can get very good premiums going into earnings, or you can actually wait for the earnings to finish and then see how it plays out, and then maybe sell cash secured puts if you want to add Palantir for long term position. I think that would be the best way to add. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
I like the kind of option strategies you bring up, Kate. They sound kind of pretty knowledgeable. I don't have a huge amount of access here in the UK, but I'm sure people listening will think, oh, actually, that's a really good idea. So we appreciate that. So yeah, Palantir tomorrow night will be interesting. I'll be watching Amit. I'd like to sit there with a box of popcorn and enjoy his enthusiasm around Palantir. So I'll very much enjoy that. Awesome. Right. X. You can follow me on X. I post there fairly regularly. Obviously, charts and trades pretty much daily. Obviously, YouTube as well. I'll be streaming, as I mentioned earlier, the HIMS earnings call, the ARM earnings call, and the Rivian earnings call as well. So that's Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So go ahead and give me a follow over there, or subscribe, should I say. And don't bother doing anything with the Substack because I don't post anything on there as well. But if you feel like it, then go for it. That's me for this week, okay? What have you got up first?
The first one, I believe it's Square. Let me see.
It is Square.
Yeah, it's blocked. Yeah, it's blocked. So the first one is blocked. Sometimes I'm not able to see it because it's blocked on my side. So let's start off with their reporting earnings on Thursday. The EPS is expected to be about 88 cents, revenue about 6.26, and EPS revisions 18 up. So the street is expecting that we will see a good EPS for the company. The actual move after earnings is about 8%. We're looking about $5 to $6 of move plus minus. And I believe that they are 60% of the time is within that range. So if you want to play options, I would say you can look at maybe an iron condor or a butterfly. More to come on that. As it gets closer to the day, I will probably post some trade ideas on the X.
Great name.
Yeah, right now it's a little bit too early. I want to have one of the catalysts, move out of the way, the election thing. But nicely, if you can see from the last few months, we have had a nice, staircase over here. So they are making higher highs, and they have been in this nice range. So even if like we fall down to, let's say, $6 on the downside, you'll be about 68. So it'll be right sitting around the 200-day moving average. So right, 4. So it's a little bit, so it shouldn't break down the 200. That is the key. Now the problem with Square has been is that a lot of analysts, they find the business to be complex, and a lot of revenue still comes from Bitcoin because they are heavy invested into the Bitcoin aspect. So again, I'm not playing the trade here right now. I'll think about the trade a little bit as the days pass by. But for now, I hope the stock stays in this range for the next leg up. And as long as it continues to maintain the higher highs, and I think we're in a nice uptrend.
Yeah, but I quite like. So from my technical perspective here, you've got this high here of 72, which is kind of where we are now. It's almost a bit like a breakout, a retest, another bounce, and then another retest here. So it could be an interesting point to add even here for long term, just because of the technical view here. I keep saying here. But what I'm looking at for now is the earnings report on, you say Thursday, was it you said?
Thursday, yes.
Yeah, so I'd probably wait now until the earnings report, like you said. But generally, just looking at it, I like the setup where it is now. So you could, in fact, play it up until earnings, of course, up until Thursday, because I don't really want to take it through earnings. That's what I was just writing down a second ago. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one, potentially playing out, of course, not the most cemented trade ever, but it's definitely one I like personally, at least.
Yeah, and then again, on option side, the IV is really very high. So if you sell options, you'll get very, very good premiums on this one. But only my case with selling options is only sell options on stocks that you like and you don't mind owning them. I have a long position in Square, so I don't mind owning more of Square, but not every stock you should be selling options on. Yeah, that's on the Square. Let's move on to the next one. Next is also in the fintech space, which is AFRM. We haven't covered AFRM in a long time. So AFRM EPS, they're still not profitable, minus 45 cents. Revenue is climbing up to 663.7 million. So still shy from a billion. Up revisions on the EPS have been 7, and down have been 5. So it's pretty even out. The actual move is about 20%. Sometimes the implied move is about 30%, but the actual move is about 20%. So you're looking at about between $8-9. So the best part right now is that we have had this 52.48 as the resistance for a very, very long time, and you can see it's going back all the way to the start of the year. And I drew from the current point, we have 21% upside to the resistance, and we have 23% downside to the gap that we have created. So based on the move, and I don't know how it will move. I haven't covered AFRM in a long time, but this could be a good case for Iron Condor, as long as it stays in that range. So basically, what Iron Condor high level strategy is that you're buying the put on that side, you're buying the call, and you basically want the stock to remain in that range. Not the best example, but that's what you want. So 23, 21%. That could be a good case. I'll think about it a little bit more, and I'll post the trade idea on X. But that's where my first thoughts are going on if I want to trade earnings.
Is that a normal type of thing for a $20 range for this type of stock?
Yeah. I think for a stock like AFRM, they do have very violent moves based on earnings. They generally can drop 20% in a heartbeat.
I mean, like the Iron Condor that you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean that's why I'm not very confident on that play yet, because I would be more confident doing an Iron Condor or a butterfly on stocks like Max 7, unless they surprise you. But for stocks like these, this is a very tricky one, because their implied move, because they only move 20%, 50% of the time, right? So 50% of the time, they could move violently to more than 20%. And you will lose on that trade if it goes beyond the two guardrails that you're putting on either side. So I am not really sure on that, but that's where my thoughts are going. Might not be a great candidate. Sometimes I only aim for stocks which have about 65 to 75% of the times that their actual move is actually within that range. So
yeah, well, definitely keep us posted on X. I'd love to see how it goes, what your thoughts are around it, whether you change your mind, etc. But as the way I see this chart, in fact, I look at this potential RSI divergence. Now, obviously, heading into earnings, it means nothing. but it's nice to see kind of what's going on. So you've got the RSI looking really strong here back in the beginning of September, and obviously subsequently decreasing over the next couple of months, whereas the stock price has actually gone up. So you can see the strength in the stock, but actually the strength in the buying is not so much there, which potentially, I mean, in a book, basically, means it's got to go down further. So we could actually see that move to the downside post earnings, of course. Pre earnings, it's a different ball game. But just thought I poured that out just to be aware of, or make you aware of, people watching that are concerned about our firm. The other thing I would like to see is obviously once we get that move, it's just a potential kind of buy in this area just to play it back up to the most recent support, kind of 38, because that's a big move. Even from the gap fill to just this next low here, that's what, $3, which is just under 10%. So it's not too bad for a stock like this. Likewise, obviously, if we do get up to this kind of 52.48 mark, I'd be looking for it to break up, come back down, retest, and then obviously make a move higher. If we get that, obviously, on the 1 hour, the 2 hour candles as well, so just be careful of that. Don't just look at the daily candles for a breakout trade. You can look into the hourly candles as well for a breakout trade. So kind of almost three possibilities there, actually, kind of how I'm thinking around the firm. So I'm glad you brought this one up. I'll keep it on my watch list, but I'm not actively trading it just yet. I need to obviously sit on my hands and wait for a few things to kind of play out first.
Yep.
But no, I do appreciate you putting this one up. Let's move the cameras back. No, wrong one. There we go. Where can we find you, Kay?
Well, you can definitely find me on X. I think I post pretty much daily on X, and it's more analysis on specific chart patterns. So if you find interesting those thoughts, make sure you subscribe me on X. YouTube as well. There are a couple trade ideas that are on the horizon. I think I'm looking at a SoFi trade, so I'll probably make a video on that as well. And I'm also on Substack.
Awesome. We spent quite a lot of time actually talking about our stocks today.
Yes,
we do that. So
it took a while today, so we can go through the requests.
Exactly. Let me just get up the charts ready to go. What have we got up first?
First is CFLT. I think it's Confluent.
Right, here we go. CFLT.
Mm-hmm. I remember covering Confluent long time back because I do have some charts on my side here. See, it's my Fibonacci level here.
So already you can see a downtrend which is looking to kind of break out recently. They must have had earnings recently. They did, yeah. You can see there was a double beat. Very, very nice. You can kind of just about see it on the screen there, but it's a double beat. You can see, so obviously very, very impressive. Looks like it's pumped up above the kind of 200 moving average in very good style. What's that, about 20%? Maybe even 25%, and it's just kind of pulled back down to this kind of level of 200 moving average. Now, you could see it come down to this trend line. Obviously, it's not the most perfectly drawn trend line in the world. You could have it here. In fact, that makes it look much better. So you've kind of got the support, around this 26.25 level, the 200 moving average, the previous trend line. A little bit of volume there, but nothing too concrete we can see there. But yeah, definitely potential for another move higher, maybe back up to this peak of 29. I'll stick a line there. And then obviously beyond that, we've got the previous peak back here of 32. So there's definitely potential in this trade. And obviously your stop loss at the moment, I would probably trail it below the 20 moving average. Because that will very, very quickly come up in the next 2-3 days up to kind of 24, 23. In that case, you can bring it up behind then. And it's a fairly low risk trade. Well, not low risk, but it's lower risk, definitely when the stop loss is a bit tighter, of course.
Yeah.
Anyway, I kind of waffled about that one. Any thoughts?
The only thought that I will give is if you actually look at the gaps it creates, it generally fills those gaps in not right away, but in like few trading days. So you can see the every time they have this gap up, especially the one that you're looking at around the March timeframe, right? So that gap up was created on 2/8, and by the time they started to fill that gap, it was almost August. So it took them 5 months, right, to fill that gap, right? And then when they created this gap down, which was not that big, but from August, it took them all the way to October to fill that gap. So it's about like 2 months. So this gap will be interesting to see when they will fill this gap down, or the gap up actually.
So the gap up you're looking at, what gap up you're looking at? Oh, the one back here.
The one in the March, yeah, exactly. So this stock has a habit of creating gap ups and gap downs, and they actually have a lot of examples like that. If you go through.
See, I would have thought that's been filled already, that March gap. So if we zoom in,
So
gap,
the
gap was created there, but then it's already been filled within a few days. And this is one further back. Yeah. No. I mean, we'll see what happens.
No, so the March gap was filled around, I would say, they started filling the gap around, I would say, April. That's when they began. But then they also had another run up. I don't have I would have shown you what I'm looking at on my side.
Oh, well, we're talking about confident. We'll see what happens in the future. We'll start wrapping through these stocks. We've got quite a few. We've got AMD again that's just come through, but I think we've already had that one. So you might see that very soon, CELH.
Okay. Next one is Celsius.
Celsius. They report earnings on Wednesday, I believe, before market open. This one's been beaten up very, very heavily. We've had it on this channel a few times, or these sessions a few times. Just kind of passing comments. None of us really brought it up as a trade idea. But
yeah, they report earnings, and they have 11 down revisions on it. So
I mean, we've got a very classic case of a double top here, as you can see. Obviously came up, came back down, smashed out, just been absolutely been annihilated since, really. I mean, what's the percentage on that? I always like doing this because 69%, wow, what a drop.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And the 50 has really acted as a resistance for this stock, and it will be very, very difficult to break that resistance. However, on the flip side, the volume shelf around the 28 to 30 really picks up. So that would be very interesting to see how the earnings impacts it. Will we have that? Will they be able to break that resistance of 50 moving average SMA, or would we see further decline? But I think the buyers will probably start stepping in at those levels. But yeah, the stock is like, the trend hasn't reversed yet. And if you're a long-time investor in this one, I think you might have to wait longer right now to really see how the stock.
Yeah, there's a small sign of it reversing with the slightly higher low here, but you need a lot more to happen for sure. You need to get through this volume.
It could just be it could just be in this position for next few months. So don't expect a miraculous recovery right away, like a V-shaped recovery on this one.
But what I would say is with this type of stock, once it starts moving, so for example, if they come in with a double beat or something on Wednesday and this stock moves 10-15% in one day, people can because it's one of those kind of retail stocks, people can get on top of this very quickly and just FOMO it. So it can have that meteoric rise. I'm not suggesting anyone plays that because that's not exactly the best trading strategy or even a trading strategy to begin with. But yeah, that it can happen with these types of stocks. Just to warn you, basically, more than anything.
Yeah. All right. Next one is TMDX, Transmedic Group.
This one got annihilated midweek. They had earnings.
Oh, they had earnings? Okay.
Yeah, and it dropped, I think it was like 25% or something immediately. And you can see it obviously reflected on the chart there. Moving averages are really coming down pretty fast now. Probably expect that 50 to come through the 200 moving average. That's generally called the death cross. I think I don't think there's really much of a trade in here apart from further downside, to be honest. We've got lots of volume here. And if we break down below that, then of course we're looking at the next support, which is probably
around 70.
Yeah, we've got 70 for a first port of call. Then you've probably got a gap fill down here for November last year, so that's 43. So that's again losing another half of its valuation. In order to do that, though, in order to have that as a trade idea, I'd have to look into the company report and actually see why they drop so much and why they could potentially drop so much more in terms of price action. So I'd have to dive in a little bit more in terms of knowledge wise, because that's a big move. Even still, I mean, what's that? 50%?
Yeah. At 23% right now with the gap down. But if they move all the way to that gap fill, let me see, it will be close to 60-70%. Yeah,
That's big.
that's very big. Yeah. So I don't think there is any trade at this point. And right now is more on a holding pattern for the stock.
Exactly.
The next is JMIA. I think it's JMIA, if I'm not wrong.
JMIA, yeah, I haven't had this one for a while. Nate used to bring this one up, didn't he?
What do they even do?
They're the African Amazon.
Oh, I see.
I'm pretty sure they are anyway. Not really much going on.
Yeah.
Since August, it's basically done nothing. I think this one was brought up in the comments because it has earnings on Thursday by the looks of it.
Let me see.
The last earnings report was not so good.
You're right.
You
11.7. Yeah, 11.7.
The last earnings report was, let's have a look at what happened.
I mean,
50%. 50%.
They miss EPS on a regular basis, and they have missed revenue many times.
Well, I'm staying away from this one then.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, it's not really, again, there's not much of a trade here apart from going lower, but there's no way I'm touching this even before earnings, basically.
Next is NU, New Holdings.
Oh, yes.
They're in, right? That's a fintech, right?
Fintech in South America. Yeah. They had a very good report, I think, last time out. Let's have a look. You can't see on the screen, yeah. Double beat. So
they report earnings on 11/13.
I've got 13th here.
Yeah, 13.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, you reversed the days. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yes.
The American days.
November 30. Yes. Difference between yes.
What we can see here on the chart for new, at least from my initial thoughts, is obviously we've got the 20 and the 50 kind of converging here, which is nice support alongside the volume profile here as well on the right side. So that's not too bad. What I would like it to see is got that kind of support level here, but that's a bit more of a drop down. So you could see a little bit of a bounce here. I think this selling is just related to various other fintechs kind of selling up a bit. I think SoFi sold off just after earnings and bounced back. PayPal sold off as well last week after earnings. I think it's come back a little bit, I think, top of my memory. So you might see these kind of stocks follow that, although it's a completely different, continent. So we'll see. But fintech stocks tend to move together. What I am just seeing now is a trend line.
They did break that trend line. That's interesting in the.
So I like this actually. For Confluence, there's 4 points, 20, 50 moving average and trend line and the volume profile on the right. So I don't hate it. I actually quite like it. Tough to buy though with everything coming up this week.
Yeah. Next is S.
So I'll just write that one. S. Sentinel-1.
Yes, I think it is a cybersecurity company. Let me double check.
I don't know what this is. I don't really remember this stock.
Yeah, cybersecurity. Yes.
I know, but I seem to have placed a trade here. I didn't actually trade it clearly, but that must have been an idea. Didn't play out either way. All right, get rid of these. It's done pretty well actually since June. Kind of slowly trading up. Obviously, we do have a bit of a channel there. Probably get rid of that trend line. It's kind of ascending triangle. So we've got some resistance here. Maybe more of a channel upwards. There we go, like that. So we've got earnings coming up. That's in December.
Yes, earnings is in December, so we still have a month to go.
So I would like it to basically trade within this area, and if it does break out, that's when I get interested. So I'll probably add this one to the shortlist for sure.
Yeah, I think on my chart, I would say I would look to make an entry closer to the 50 SMA, which is 24, and also where the majority of the volume is.
Yeah, I can see that there. That's not a bad shout.
So, I mean, if you sell options, then that's where you will open a CSP to get into the stock. Hey, Sebastian. All right.
Better late than never, eh?
Yeah. Next is DLO.
DLO. D-Local Limited.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Let me see.
Oh, I see sell. I see sell.
So they do a payment processing platform worldwide. They offer pay-in solution, which the business and get paid for the products and services. And it is I think it's a South American company, if I'm not wrong, Uruguay. Yeah, South American.
On a technical basis, that's about to break down.
Yeah, they have a sell rating, by the way. Wall Street has a buy, but the other analysts also have a sell rating on this one. Very interesting.
So how was that, 840? So a move lower. Let's just try and find a bit of a target here. So you're probably looking obviously there-ish as a target that's 5%. If it does break that lower, then you're looking at this level here of 730, 13.
They report earnings on 11/13, so 2 weeks from now.
So there's still plenty of time for this to kind of play out.
Yeah,
I like it, actually. I wonder if there's much volume in this stock.
I can check. What is that? It is DLO, right?
It's been dribbling out recently. You can't really see it because it's behind K, but it's about half the size.
Actually, on the options chain, it's crazy. It's the 12/20 expiration. You would not believe the put to call ratio. It's 0.05. So they have 36,000 call options and only 2,000 put options.
That's crazy. Yeah, there
That
must
is
be some
crazy.
sort of catalyst or something then.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a good one for a trade. Okay, all right. Let's move to the next one. It's AMD. Oh yes,
AMD.
Yeah, love it.
Consistently frustrates me. It's so annoying.
I actually had a trade on AMD, and so I had a CSP open for AMD at 162.5, and I believe I did post it on X. On my, let me find my AMD post. I did post it, and so yeah, so AMD, I had it for 162.5, and then it got assigned to me, but because I had collected almost $11 in premium, so it basically dropped it to 151. So I'm still down, but yeah, so I'll have to see how to play that. Hopefully, we get a bounce from this level, which I don't know if we will yet. However, if NVIDIA runs, we may get a bounce from this level.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing where we're kind of hoping for the semiconductor industry as a whole to run to pick up AMD with it, because at the moment it's looking very sad. Cap down on Wednesday, and then Wednesday sell, Thursday sell, Friday sell. I'm looking at this box here that I've drawn previously in the last couple of days, just to kind of bounce somewhere in this box, just to set a higher low. So obviously you've got the lowest low here, beginning of August, and then setting this one in September. So just setting a higher low here would just be something for the AMD bulls.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So any trade ideas on this one? I would say, I think let's wait for Monday and see how NVIDIA plays out. We may be able to get a bounce after the inclusion in Dow Jones.
Yeah, I would say it's in limbo. Stay away from it until anything happens.
All right, my favorite stock, Tesla.
Okay, I'll let you have this one.
Okay. Well, see, I have a very simple theory on this one, right? If Trump loses, Tesla stock is gonna get smacked. Now, how long, I don't know, but that's Elon Musk is going to have a very, very interesting next few days. And if he wins, then we could see a massive rally on Tesla. So I would just wait and watch on how Tesla is. If you're already in a position, if you have covered calls and stuff like that, just wait and watch, and only after the announcement make any moves. Yeah, I think he definitely is riding a lot on the results for the 5th.
I've got Tesla in a trade because I posted it on X throughout the week, saying I like this retest of this level here of 260.
Yeah.
Obviously, the next couple of days hasn't been so wonderful, and my stop loss is just below this week. It's about here-ish, I think 239, 238. I think it is actually.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, right? Because when they reported earnings, right, we had this massive gap up. So I wouldn't be surprised if they come down and fill that gap, honestly.
Well, I'm hoping not, because that would ruin my trade.
Yeah, of course, that will ruin your trade. But I'm saying
That's how
I
it
wouldn't be
goes.
surprised that they come back and fill this gap.
Yeah.
And then we will have a different discussion. Because if they start filling that gap, you're coming down to the 220, 215 level. Then that's a different ball game altogether.
Exactly. Just a note on the request coming through now. We got quite a lot on the card, and we've probably got about 10, 15 minutes left. I could probably run over a bit more if you can, Kay.
Yeah, I'm absolutely.
Yeah,
I want to
nice.
make sure we cover as many requests as possible.
Cool. Robert's just put up ASPI, but you've already said that earlier. We do have it written down. Don't worry. I think it's
Yes,
about
we do.
4
We
or 5
do.
down the line. So
Yeah, it's coming down.
hold on tight. But yeah, Tesla going forward. Basically, one big event will tell you what's going to happen here. Is that
Correct.
right? Nice.
Correct. All right.
Nice.
Move to Intel.
Intel. Bad news on Friday.
What was the bad news? I think they. Let me see.
They got taken out of the Dow Jones, didn't they?
Oh yes, you're right. Absolutely. Da-da-da. So I don't know how Pat, the CEO, still has his job. This is the one thing I don't understand. He has completely ruined this company. Okay, rant over. They are currently in progress of filling that gap, but they are very, very close to the 50 SMA. I mean, 50 has acted more like a support level for it. We will see how it reacts actually on Monday, how the trading goes. I mean, they had a decent earnings. Don't get me wrong, but we'll see how it plays out on Monday, considering they got kicked out of Dow Jones.
Yeah, it's not good news, really, is it?
It's not. I mean, but the stock hasn't done well either, right? It's one of the worst performing stocks in semiconductors.
Yeah, especially in the last basically 2 decades as well.
Yeah, and then they are the biggest beneficiary of the CHIPS Act. I mean, incompetency is rampant in this company.
Did you hear that rumor about Apple buying them this week?
No, I did not.
Yeah, it's probably just a rumor, to be honest. But yeah, Apple shaping up to buy Intel. Just not too sure why they would. Or, you know what I mean? They make their own chips now, don't they, Apple? So
yeah, but I think the 50 SMA, I think that is acting as a good support line for this one. I mean, they have had multiple bounces from that in the last month or so.
yeah, you can see if I remove this trend line,
yeah,
it's just replaced by the 50 moving average. So it's basically the same sort of line.
Exactly.
Which is quite funny. Obviously, a big bounce off of it on the Friday, but obviously with the news coming after the market close on Friday, we'll see what happens tomorrow. We could see this line break down, in which case I'm looking at kind of $20.50 straight away, to be quite honest with you. And then, see if we go lower than 18, or what's that, 1918.
And by the way, Wall Street has a hold rating on Intel. Even after the performing good earnings, they still have a hold rating. They haven't changed their ratings yet. Or at least I don't see it refreshed here yet.
They are a dividend company as well, aren't they? So people will have it just for that
Correct.
reason.
Correct. No, they stopped dividends. I don't see any dividends anymore.
Yeah, there's one here. It was paid on August 7th. Unless they've taken it away after that.
On Seeking Alpha, they say Intel does not currently pay a dividend. So I don't know where this confusion is. If anybody knows, can drop it in the comment. If they hold Intel, do you get dividends? Because on Seeking Alpha, they're saying they don't pay dividends. I don't know why.
It could be the last one, perhaps. They may have announced it in the last earnings call.
Okay. All right.
Awesome. What's next?
Let's move on to the next one. Next is Amazon.
We'll try and breeze through a few bit like this, the big names. Very simply, I think I'll take this one if that's all right, or at least the main part of it.
Yes.
Obviously, really good earnings, double beat, looking good on the AI sector as well. Lots of R&D spending, I think, in the last 2 months, 2 quarters or 3 quarters. Can't remember if it was 2 or 3, but they're definitely ramping up R&D spend, obviously for good value as well for the AI side of the business. Obviously, 200 is a massive sell wall. Bezos has been known to sell at the 200 mark. So basically, if we get through that, I'm looking for a bit of a push above that, maybe a nice bit of volume, and then just a pull back to 200, and obviously a subsequent move higher to 220, 230. That's where price targets have kind of been set by analysts. Obviously, that's only taken by a pinch of salt, but it's still a nice little guide to get to. There's all-time high territory as well for Amazon, so I'd be quite excited if we can break 200 in fashion. We had it at the beginning of the year for Apple, or kind of mid parts of year for Apple, breaking through 200, and they did it in style. They went straight to 220, straight to 230. So there's no reason why Amazon can't do that as well. So that's what I'm looking for Amazon this week for sure.
Yeah. Only thing I want to add on Amazon is I think the strategy is slowly changing on Amazon. They had put their grocery store build out on hold last year, 2022 to 2023. They had put it on hold, and I think in 2024 they have started rebuilding. So there was a grocery store, the Amazon Fresh, that was supposed to open near our house. It was put on hold. Everything was built. They had stocked up everything. Then they decided not to open. Now they are opening back again on the 7th, coming up next week. So seems like the strategy has started changing for Amazon. Just a side note on that. Next is another one called LCID, Lucid.
Just a quick one. Intel announced that they stopped earning dividends
Yeah.
last earnings. So yeah, that makes sense.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think neat.
Lucid. Oh my.
Yeah.
They report earnings this week, I think. Yeah, on Thursday. This is not a well-loved stock, partially because they don't really deliver that many cars. I watched a review the other day with Marcus Brownlee, one of the biggest YouTubers, and he was kind of reviewing his Lucid Air, kind of more of a basic side of the model, and it's actually a pretty impressive car to a certain extent, but it's still, I think there's better cars on the market. Obviously, the Tesla Model S, etc., is a good one. Obviously, the Neo cars I'm going to be biased towards, of course, but they're not over in the US, so I can't really compare that. But stock price wise, just looking really, really rough. And obviously, one of those companies that kind of burns through cash. Obviously, the kind of beginning stages of EV adoption generally, so they're not exactly set up for success there. What are your thoughts on Lucid? Do you trade it much, or do you like the cars at all?
I stay away from Lucid. I think the only stock in EV is just either straight Tesla. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean that's fair enough. I mean, sometimes I dabble in Rivian as well as obviously Neo for me.
Yeah, Neo, I'm in Neo as well, but not as much as Tesla.
Yeah, Rivian's the only one I kind of dabble in other than that. But yeah, Lucid, interesting to see what happens on Thursday.
Next is ASPI, and I think they are in the nuclear.
ASPI, wow, what a rocket!
Yes. So yeah, so I think this has gained a lot of traction because of the AI demand for energy. So a lot of companies are focusing on the nuclear energy. There were a couple other stocks actually. Actually have built a watch list on nuclear.
200% in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah,
that's not bad. 2 weeks actually.
So on the nuclear, there were a couple other stocks. There's a stock called OKLO and NWB. Yeah, those other stocks have also gone crazy, especially on the nuclear side.
In terms of a technical view, I mean, coming back down to kind of 555 level would be where I look for first. I know obviously it's made that move and it's kind of hovering around 780 at the moment, but I wouldn't be buying it here for sure. It's kind of made its move. It's got a couple of bit of sellers coming here, and obviously a big amount of sellers coming here on Friday as well. So looking for that move lower for sure, maybe to fill the gap first. If you get a bit of volatility, it might punch down towards the kind of 555. In that time, you might see the 20-move average come up as well at the same sort of time, so you might have a bit of confidence there. And obviously if these types of stocks are going to continue moving on this news, etc., then it could actually not be a bad trade, potentially. So I'll write this one down definitely on my watch list. And it was actually mentioned twice, so
yeah, I'm glad. Next is Datadog.
Datadog, I'll let you have this one. This is in your field.
All right, so I think for me personally on Datadog, if you can just move that trend line a little bit up, yeah, beautiful.
This one?
Yeah. So I think first of all we are there's a lot of bullishness on this stock. We have 30 up revisions for the upcoming earnings, which is on 11/7. So there's a lot of bullishness. This company has not missed a single EPS and they have not missed a single revenue since they have started reporting earnings. So that also shows that most likely it's going to do some kind of a beat. I honestly think we have a good support at the 200 SMA. And what I would really want to see on this particular stock is they are able to break this trend line, which has been the high for a long time. That is what I'm hoping for on this one. There is a big gap down, but I don't see that filling, at least not right now, considering there's so much bullishness going into earnings for this stock.
So yeah, I mean, you said hit nail on the head there. I'll run with that. Nice.
So next
Trendline
one,
break would be ideal.
yeah, that I mean, if we are hoping for the pull up, it has to break the trend line. So next is Unity Software. I think it's you.
I remember trading this one years ago.
Back in the day.
Yeah, I remember trading this one years ago. In fact, literally a couple of years ago. So it's changed in price dramatically since I traded it. It's actually not a bad little setup potentially happening. Just from an immediate glance, it looks like I've actually drawn a line in the last couple of months, as you can see on the screen there. Similar to what you said earlier with Intel, we've got that kind of 50 moving average sliding in as a bit of support alongside the trend line. So what I want to see is, I think we've got earnings on, what's that, Thursday? Yeah, earnings on Thursday. I think it's after market hours. I think I saw that. Pushing up above this line, which I've also drawn at about 22-ish. Pushing up above that and the 200 moving average, and obviously off of all these levels, that'd be ideal. And then come back down for a retest on those, and then making a move higher towards kind of $30-ish. That'd be ideal. But it's not really a name I like to trade, and there's way better tickers in my book to trade. You could actually play this to a short side, more so. That's actually probably more attractive to me. So kind of going against what I normally say. If we break down below the 50 moving average and the this trend line as well, a bit of volume here. So maybe the kind of target around 16, 17. That's a nice move. Would you agree?
I agree on this one. I think yeah.
I actually like that for a move. Let me write that down.
Yeah, the 200 will be very, very key, I think, especially with the earnings. We could probably see a...
What's the average move for earnings?
Let me
that handy.
I can pull it up right away. This is Unity.
I know. I think it's pretty volatile. I think I've seen it move quite heavily on earnings before.
Oh my goodness. About 15% plus minus.
Wow. Yeah, you could actually see that in one move then. Come down to 16, or subsequently up higher would be 23. So you're looking at the range of 16 to 23.
That's
exciting stuff.
Yeah.
I remember when they got announced with the Apple conference a couple of years ago with those Vision Pro.
Yeah.
And they were dealers, I think, just rocketed 20%.
Yeah, and then the Apple is actually slowing down on that production of that. So next is EBS. So we get a anti-neat says Unity doesn't have that great of a response from game devs. Unreal Engine seems to establish itself as a standard.
So it's out of favor.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't follow Unity that much, but I know it was a pretty hot stock for retail traders.
Yeah, it definitely got a lot of attention.
Okay.
You can see this potentially is a bit of a wedge here. I think it must be biotech, judging by the name of it.
I think biotech. Wrong, BS is biotech, yeah. You're right.
I don't hate it though. Looks like we've got earnings around the corner on Wednesday, so I'll probably wait for earnings for sure. That's the big pink line.
Do you trade biotech stocks?
Oh no, never really. I sometimes trade the ETFs.
I see.
But I very rarely trade the actual stocks themselves. I just find them way too erratic. And one FCA report, and it could destroy your whole account. I mean, it could make it your account, which is fair enough, but it could also destroy your account. So I just stay away from it.
The next stock is ASPN.
ASPN, yeah. There's lots of hype around this one. Potential. I can't remember what they do. Exactly.
They are into chemicals. So let me read.
I think it's related to electric vehicles, I believe.
They design, develop, manufacture, and sells aerogel insulation products primarily for the use of energy infrastructure and sustainable insulation materials markets in the US, Asia, Canada, and so on.
Technically, it doesn't look good. Broken down the 200 moving average.
Yep.
50 moving average coming down quickly to create that death cross. So it could be in a bit of a negative space at the moment. Be interested to see what their kind of PE ratio is. Probably not much if they're not profitable.
PE is, I can tell you that. Hold on. Valuation. Oh, their forward PE is 119.
Right, so pretty high.
They get an upgrade on the valuation.
It could be a potential short trade here, just on a technical basis, just because of this trend line which was set from August of last year. If we come back up to the 20 moving average and the kind of where the trend line meets, that could be a good sell setup for the stock. And obviously, being a fairly smaller valued stock, we're probably looking at about 10%, just down to the same level. So yeah.
Sebastian says that they have earnings and their earnings have been amazing. So they reported earnings on 10/16. They beat EPS by 15 cents, and they also had a beat on the revenue. So that's true. Very interesting.
So I had to blow my nose.
All right, next stock. We haven't heard about this stock in a long time. GME.
Wow. Empty shops. So what's going on here then?
I have no idea.
We had Roaring Kitty
I'm
come
not a
back, didn't we?
GME expert.
Roaring Kitty came back at the beginning of the year with that one picture and a bunch of video tweets, which was quite fun. It was entertaining. X blew up. Got lots of volume around this area, which is understandable because it's basically trading within this whole area. But yeah, it's a tough one to get into. I can see why people are excited because it's above the two smaller moving averages. And it looks like even if you drew a trend line here, for example, it's hard to draw technicals in these types of stocks. But yeah, you can see obviously where the trend lines have come down, it's kind of pushed up above that and it's come back down to kind of retest it. So I can see why people might be excited about it, but I won't be trading it personally.
Yeah, Wall Street also has a sell on this one. Anyways, moving on to, I think the stock you like, you have done it many times, ENPH.
Oh, ENPH, yeah.
He sold his Chewy position. Okay.
ENPH, another one that's been very frustrating this year. Obviously, it's a solar panel stock, essentially. Solar industry.
Wasn't you know, I mean, not being political, but you know, solar panels got a lot of heat in from Republicans, so I'm not surprised.
So you're saying they're more in favor of the?
Yeah, they're not in favor of solar. I mean, if you follow what Trump was saying, you know, the funny part was what it's like a desert, and you know, pigeons are dying and birds are dying and all that, you know, mumbo jumbo. So they are not in favor of the renewable energy. So it is what it is.
But either way, I mean, ENPH has the largest market cap, I think, within the whole solar industry. So you think if anyone's got a chance, it's got to be ENPH. Microinverters, obviously, they're very necessary for solar panels, obviously. And we can see it's kind of come back down to this level where it came down to, what's that, November of last year, that kind of 75 level. I've got it as 79 for some reason, but I'm trying to drag that a bit lower to 76-ish. And we can see, obviously, in the last couple of weeks, basically since the earnings report, it's come back down there and it's kind of trading within this area. It's very hard stock to get into. But if you believe in the solar, you know, the solar mission, the solar project in the next 10 to 20 years, then I think adding small positions kind of on a regular basis is no issue. In fact, it's actually quite appealing. Any thoughts on the solar industry for the next 20 years?
No, I mean, if you think about if you look at Tesla's energy sector, right, that's growing.
Yeah.
So that has something to do with it. But I think it's going to remain volatile. This is a very viable option, right? Solar energy. I'm not an expert, but I don't have a position in this, honestly.
And you're not tempted?
No, I'm not tempted. Next is Zoom. I stick with the stock. I stick with the industries that I like and I have a little bit of idea on, like SaaS companies. Yeah, this one, man. I mean, I tell you, Zoom. What can I say about Zoom? It's like, you know, what I don't like about Zoom is that their whole software is built upon work from home, and then they call their entire staff back into office, right? So so that's the funny part. But yeah, if you look at Zoom has done decently well lately. The stock is on an uptrend. If you zoom out a little bit, that no pun intended. But the stock has actually lost its shine that they had back in 2020. Most of those big winners during the pandemic are really, you know, and I know that they have launched a lot of other products within Zoom. They are gaining ground, but again, you know, it's tough to beat when Microsoft offers you their product in a bundled category. And companies who have Microsoft products, they just go with their Teams instead of Zoom.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, from a technical level, I really wish I noticed this in the beginning of September, because this trend line goes way back to 2022, September 2022. And you can see the reason I've drawn it here, so a little bit of kind of how I think about things. The reason I've drawn it here is because there's no complete candle close above the line. So you can see it happened almost here. Candle comes up, sorry, it closes, but the next candle comes down, closes below it. Then this candle again closes at the top, fair enough, but this candle actually closes below it, so it's still not a clean break. I like to see two candles break the trend lines, or support resistance lines cleanly, and then you have a break, which is what we see here. So we can see a break of the trend line, and then the following week it was also above the trend line. So that to me is a break. So then what I look for is a pullback to that trend line, and you can see that happened here with the 2 weeks following. And then I would enter around this area thereabouts, probably a little bit higher, just on the safer side. And then since then it's moved up 15%, something like that. So that's a good example of a trade that I missed, but that's generally what I look for. So just in case if you're watching this and you're thinking, well, what does he actually look for in a trade, especially a breakout trade, that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
And just one other point I'll add on this one. So Zoom created a gap down back in August of 2022. We still have not filled that gap. We are 26% away from filling that gap.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so something to keep in mind. You could always play. It will be a long swing trade. If
Where's
you
that gap? Where's the gap? Sorry.
The gap is 26%. So the gap started back in August of 2022.
What's the value of the gap?
The gap value is, let me see. So it was between 90 and 95.
I'll just put it on here so I can have a look at it later on.
Yeah, 88 to 96.47. That's the gap.
Nice.
Awesome. Okay, next is coin. I might have missed a couple others, but let me see. So coin and BIDU, those are two. Let me see if I missed anything.
So I've only got Intel and MicroStrategy after Zoom.
Okay.
I didn't even have coin. I think that was just a passing comment by someone.
Okay.
But we'll definitely take a look at coin because it did react quite aggressively to earnings. Over the weekend, obviously Bitcoin has moved down. I'm pretty sure it's still kind of around 68,000. So it will probably break this 50 moving average to the negative side. But the next side I'll be looking at for sure is this volume profile around 165. The actual company itself / platform, I don't really like it. It charges too much, at least where I am. It charges too much to basically trade crypto and obviously withdraw the money. So for me personally, I do it on a different platform. So Coinbase as a user for me is a no. And normally with that is a good reason for me not to invest, because if I don't like the product, what's the point of me investing? What are your thoughts around Coin?
No, I don't invest. I don't trade coin, honestly. I pretty much stick with Mara and a couple others on the Bitcoin side. But but I know that there are a lot of option sellers that they use coin as one of the tickers for selling options on. So it's pretty popular. I wouldn't disagree with that statement. The next one is BIDU. This might be in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, Chinese stock, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't actually know what they do, to be honest with you. I just know it's a Chinese stock.
Oh, you don't trade BIDU at all?
No, the only Chinese stocks I trade is NIO and Baba. That's it.
I see.
There's no point touching into Tencent and Pinduoduo and all that kind of stuff. I just want to keep it simple because Chinese stocks are erratic enough as it is. I mean, my experience with NIO, I don't really want more experiences like NIO in the last couple of years. But BIDU generally here, it looks like I've drawn some lines in the past, even though I don't trade it actively. Let's move on to a bigger time frame so it makes it a bit clearer for you to see. It looks like this trend line goes all the way back since July of last year. And similar to what I said about Zoom. Was it Zoom? Yep. Yeah, I think it was Zoom. Similar to what I said about Zoom, it's kind of not broken above that line. It looks like it's obviously made that rocket move up with the HSI going mad. It's come back down. It's kind of retesting that level of what looks like about 88. So it could be an interesting entry point if you're looking to take a risk. So yeah.
Sebastian says BIDU is self-driving and Google.
It's what of China, I imagine.
Yeah. In Wuhan, I think they have those running. The next one is Snap.
Hang on, let me write this down.
We have not covered Snap in like forever.
Snap, yeah. I mean, I know all the kids use it, but do you use Snapchat?
No, I don't. I used probably like 10 years back. Probably I used it.
I think I had the app.
I had the app too, but I was never active on it.
No.
I just had because everybody was downloading it in my group, so I had the app, but I never bothered to use it.
I'm assuming you mean amazing setup for BIDU and not Snap, Sebastian. I don't hate the setup, to be fair. If I can get above the 200 moving average and come back down and retest it and move higher, then that's great. But it's not a stock I like at all. NAP has a huge buyback program. Okay, that's interesting. Again, I don't know enough about the company to really think about investing in it. From a trading point of view, I just mentioned it. Just moving above the 200 moving average would be ideal, especially with the momentum it's gained midweek. Clearly had very good earnings.
But also the issue is the Wall Street also has a hold rating on this stock.
That's not a bad thing, though.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. So I wonder why they have a hold rating. We'll have to probably dig into this a little bit. Okay.
Trend line there as well, so that's interesting.
Do you want to cover Mara? We have a request for Mara.
Yeah, I can do that. I also want to cover MicroStrategy as well, because
yes,
same sort of wheelhouse. Mara, right down at this trend line. That's interesting. Do you want to talk about this? Because you trade quite often, don't you?
Yeah, I trade Mara often. I think said it earlier, right? I'll wait for the election results because I think if we have a Republican win, I believe we will see a surge in the Bitcoin side. So that will, of course, impact Mara and others. If not, we could see an opposite direction, right? I know that Democrats have not really said anything about Bitcoin particularly or specifically, I would say. So I would say there could be a knee-jerk reaction on the stock. But on a Republican win, I think we might see an upswing on this one. But for now, I think this is a crucial level. The 1613, we have had couple bounces from here. And you have a good volume shelf at this level as well. So I would definitely watch and make sure that this doesn't break. Because if it breaks, then we will have to watch the next level around 1482. That would be the next support level on the day trade.
Awesome. I like it. So basically sit on your hands and see who wins.
Yeah, I think specific stocks, right, which are very prone to the policies which were like clearly laid out by each candidate, right? So they were called out. So Tesla, Bitcoin related stocks, they will definitely see some impact on the election result.
Absolutely. Right. Should we call it there or do one more?
Up to you.
We'll call it there. We've got Estee Lauder just come in by Fierce, so we'll just do Estee Lauder quickly.
Okay.
And then we'll call it there. You just snuck in there, Fierce. Well done. Wow. Actually, looks like big drop. Really big drop for such a.
It's a pretty big company. Yeah. Let me see why though.
20%. Yes.
So they missed the EPS. They missed the revenue by almost like 9.5 million. And
it's not looked good for a very long time.
Yeah.
I hope you don't hold this long term, Fierce. Wow. Or haven't held it, should I say. It's been, I mean, I can't even tell you when the high was. It's like the last high was back in December of 2021, $374.
Wow.
And it is now, as you
I feel like
see,
it's like ENP, the Enphase Energy, right? They were in 300 as well.
What a drop that is. I don't even know where to begin in terms of analysis.
I mean, there is no analysis until we find a floor, right?
Yeah, we've got a bit of a trend line here, but that maybe, but that's.
Listen, I think the only analysis I can think of is to stay away from it.
Yeah, I mean, the volume is there. It's dropped down below that already. I mean, you're looking way back in the past for a support level, and that's not what I like to do. I like to have a support level that's fairly recent, probably within the last 6 months. And on this case, you're looking at since 2014, which is a decade ago. So yeah, one to stay away from for sure. Maybe you could play this on the daily timeframes, not daily timeframes, sorry, the hourly timeframes, if you're feeling fruity. But it's definitely not one I would trade personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that was a really good session. That was an hour and 20 minutes long. We had over 3,000 viewers in total. We really enjoyed doing it, of course. So obviously keep coming in week after week. We are going to be away though for the next 2 weeks because I'm going to Japan, which I'm really excited for. So I'll keep you updated on X. I'll post a few photos here and there, but I'm largely going to try and enjoy it and trying to get away from the stocks, although that is going to be very difficult for me. But yeah, next 2 weeks we're not going to be here. Unfortunately, I think Kay's going away as well. So it kind of works quite nicely. So we'll be back on the 24th of November, I believe. So put that in your diaries. Be ready and waiting for our faces to be back in front of you talking about your favorite stocks.
And, all I'll add on that part is that come December, I think our schedule will clean up. All travels will end and we'll be regular starting December onwards. We won't have these 2 weeks of breaks, but, summer and fall is just always a lot of travel.
It's just been a bit of a busy year. Certain things have happened. Obviously, I've got married, so I'm going to have to have a honeymoon. So it just kind of makes sense.
Yeah. You're overview on the honeymoon part. So so we wish you have some fun, enjoy. Japan is a beautiful place, beautiful country. Sebastian says sayonara to you.
Sayonara, exactly. But yeah, just on the trading side, obviously be careful this week. We do have the election on Tuesday. We've got FOMC on Wednesday, and obviously earnings kind of flooding through the week as well. So
correct. And job claims, the job numbers will be coming out. So a lot will hinge on how the job market is performing, and then how the FOMC meeting happens.
So just trade safe. It's going to be very volatile. I'm going to be sitting on my hands for a lot of it. Kind of taking in the earnings, kind of relaxing a little bit before the holiday, you know what it's like. So we'll see what happens. I'll probably throw in a few trades here and there, so keep obviously posted on both of our accounts because Kay is obviously very active as well. Thank you once again for Wolf for letting us use the platform. We really enjoy it, of course. Really appreciate it, and obviously get some eyes on the whole community as a whole, not just us, of course. So yeah, with that, anything you want to add there, Kay?
No, great. See you guys. Enjoy your rest of the week. Enjoy your trip, SHAUN, and we will catch you guys in 2 weeks.